from the fourth canto, that chapter 5, text 48. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyamudiyayat. Nastubhesya Bhattesyo Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavata Tumas Loke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So, is this verse 48? 48, yeah. Yeah, 3, 5, 48. Perfect. Okay. Tate Vayam Lokasisreksayatya Tvaya Shristas Trebir Atma Bhisma Sarve Viyukta Svavirara Tantram Nasak Namastat Pratihartavete. Read it once again. Tate Vayam Lokasisreksayatya Tvayano Shristas Trebir Atma Bhisma Sarve Viyukta Svavihara Tantram Nasak Namastat Pratihartavete. Word for word translation. That, therefore, te, your, vayam, all of us, loka, world, saya, for the sake of creation, adya, original person, tvaya, by you, anushristaha, being created one after another, tribihi, by the three modes of nature, atma bihi, by one's own, sma, in the past, sarve, all, viyuktaha, separated, svavihara tantram, the network of activities for one's own pleasure, na, not, saknumaha, could do it, that, pratihartave, to what, te, unto your, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature, and for this reason we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. Purport. The cosmic situation is working under the influence of the three modes of material nature, of the three modes of the external potency of the Lord. Different creatures are also under the same influence, and therefore they cannot act concertedly in satisfying the Lord. Because of this diverse activity, there cannot be any harmony in the material world. The best policy, therefore, is to act for the sake of the Lord. That will bring about the desired harmony. Read the verse once again. Tate svayam lokasisreksayatya tvayano ristas Tribir Atma Vishva. Sarve Vyukta Svavihara Tantram Nasaknamasta Patihartavete. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the modes of nature. And for this reason we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. Om Jnanatimanasya Chinanjana Shalakya Shakshuranitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah. Chichitayamanovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamrupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shiyu Shiyuda Padkamnam Shigam Vaishnavam Sham. Shiyupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Kaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Shuddha Devi Panamama Haripri Pancha Kalptrabhisha Kripasinavevasha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasad Gauravaktavinna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyaya Kesatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. In this verse, it is said, we are your creatures. These are the leaders of the universe praying. We are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature, and for this reason we are separated in action. So material nature creates diversity. And due to this diversity, that living entities do not agree, that there is quarrel, there are so many things. But they are saying, yes, due to this diversity, we cannot act in unity. Unity means directing your actions all for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So due to this material consciousness, they cannot act unitedly, in unity. To act in unity, living entities must be Krishna conscious. So that is the essence of this verse, that of course we have Vidura speaking with Maitreya. Vidura is the brother of Dhritarashtra, and we know, yes, Yamaraj, who was cursed and had to take birth for one lifetime, as Vidura here. So Vidura was the youngest of the three brothers, Pandu, Dhritarashtra, Vidura. And before, we have heard few chapters before, Parikshit Maharaj asked to describe these talks between Vidura and Maitreya. That because before meeting with Maitreya, Vidura met Uddhav. Uddhav had been instructed by Krishna before he left this planet And also Maitreya was there and heard these discussions. Of course, after hearing the Uddhav Gita, Uddhav was sent on a mission to share this knowledge with the sages of Badarikashram. And on his way, he met Vidura. And Vidura was very happy to see Uddhav. Uddhav was very ecstatic because he was always remembering Krishna. But he brought the news to Vidura that Krishna has left this planet, which was shocking for Vidura. At the same time, he saw that Uddhav was so ecstatic and he wanted to be instructed by him. But they spoke the whole night, but then the next morning, Uddhav left because he had this mission. But he told Vidura, you have to hear from Maitreya. Maitreya also has heard from Krishna. So then, because he said, Maitreya also has received the full mercy of Krishna. We can understand that if you are instructed directly by Lord Krishna, must be very special, then you get the full mercy. That so because Uddhav was always thinking of Krishna. He looked like Krishna also. And he was the most confidential associate of Krishna. But Uddhav told that the Yadus had left, Krishna is gone. And Uddhav has spoken about all the pastimes of Krishna. He could not stop thinking of Krishna. That's the sign of a pure devotee. Ananya Sintiyantaman, undeviated devotional service. Your mind cannot be deviated from Krishna. The gopis' minds also could not, during the day, they could not deviate from Krishna because Krishna Manohar had stolen their minds. That also when the gopis were attracted by the Krishna's flute and they all ran to the forest. And then Krishna says, yeah, why do you come here in the middle of the night? It's dangerous, all these dangerous animals in the forest, and you left behind your husband and babies. You should serve them. You should do your duty. But the gopis said, even if we go back, what can we do there? You have stolen our mind. We cannot focus on our daily duties. No, it's not possible. So their minds could not be deviated from Krishna, and Uddhav was like that. But the next day he left. But he had to continue to Badarika Ashram to deliver his message. So he instructed Vidura to hear from Maitreya. And here we have the controlling deities. The controlling deities of this universe. They are praying and they are expressing their feelings of being incapable to do their service. So they are offering this very beautiful prayers. And that's like that. The truly empowered souls, they feel themselves completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So they are appealing for the mercy of the Lord. It's also great lessons for us. Whatever we do, we need the mercy of the Lord. Of course, the mercy comes to his representative, the spiritual master. to the spiritual master. This verse is on unity and diversity. Srila Prabhupada spoke on unity in diversity. This is he spoke on that in a letter to Kirtanananda Swami on October 18, 1973. And I will read this letter.
After the age of 50 with like a heart attack or like anything that you know of.
Now, Prabhupada writes, now this displeasing of God borders has already begun and gives me too much agitation in my mind. So Prabhupada is speaking here about his God brothers that who started to quarrel with each other after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj passed away in this world. So he says, our Gaudiya Math fought with one another after the demise of Guru Maharaj, but my disciples have already begun fighting even in my presence, Prabhupada said. So I'm greatly concerned about it. Following in the footprints of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinatapi Shunitsena Taroravi Saisnana Amana Namanadana Kirtanya Sadari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So we must always remember this verse and be as tolerant as the tree, Srila Prabhupada writes, as we execute the Krishna consciousness movement. Without this mentality, we cannot be successful. Material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement. Even though there are varieties of engagement in the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. So, you say, that is the difference. The materialist, without coming into agreement with varieties, but if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. That is called unity in diversity. I'm therefore suggesting that all our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. With all GBC and senior men present, we should discuss how to make unity in diversity. But if we find on account of unity in diversity, but if we find on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity in diversity. That will make our movement successful. One section of men have already gone out. Therefore, we must be very careful to maintain unity in diversity. I remember the story of Aesop's fables of the father of many children with the bundle of sticks. So that's a very interesting analogy. When the father asked his children to break the bundle of sticks wrapped in a bag, none of them could do it. But when they removed the sticks from the bag and tried one by one, the sticks were easily broken. So this is the strength of unity. If we are bunched up, we can never be broken. But when divided, then we can become broken very easily. So Srila Prabhupada did not want ISKCON to turn out like the Gaudiya Math, a bunch of ineffective little maths with no strong unified preaching. To some extent, Srila Prabhupada's fear has been realized. Many ISKCON members have not been able to live with the admittedly difficult process of discussion and submission to collective decision-making set up by Srila Prabhupada. Such members have become frustrated and displeased, and instead of continuing to work with the system, have left to step up their own organizations, have joined the organization of various Gaudiya Math gurus, or have drifted off into isolation. This has certainly weakened ISKCON, but to some extent Srila Prabhupada's hope has been realized. A critical mass of ISKCON members continues to work together in the spirit of unity and diversity, tolerating all the differences of submitting to a process of collective decision-making by the GBC. If we look carefully at the above letter, we can see that Prabhupada says that the collective decision-making process should involve not just the GBC, but all GBC and senior men. To some extent, exclusive focus on the authority of the GBC may at times have weakened the collective decision-making process. The presence of all senior men at Mayapur must be given due attention as part of ISKCON's collective decision-making process. But in the end, it does not become necessary for each individual to adopt a humble mood and be prepared to bow down to the will of leadership, to a leadership system devised by Prabhupada. So that is this principle of unity in diversity as applied to ISKCON here. That so Prabhupada says in that letter, you are already quarreling in my presence. You should apply this unity in diversity. Unity means working together. So the modes of material nature creates diversity. The diversity is without harmony. Therefore, the Varnashram system is there. Material nature creates diversity. So we have some people with intellectual capabilities, Brahmins. Others have like martial arts and protecting people. This the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas. They are into business and agriculture, cow protection. And the Sudras are good in assisting others. So that's diversity. But what is the purpose of the Varnashram is Haritoshanam, pleasing Lord Hari, pleasing the Supreme Lord. They work all together to please the Supreme Lord, and that is the unity in the system. So the modes of material nature create this diversity. We have all different bodies, different roles, so-called roles to play in the material world for a short time. So that diversity is without harmony, but in the spiritual world there is unity in diversity. So anyone is directing, everyone is directing everyone or helping everyone to serve the Lord. So when the 4 Kumaras came to Vaikuntha and Jai and Vijay stopped them, then because the 4 Kumaras, they wanted to see the Lord to offer their service. So Jain Vijay should have assisted them in that. But no, they stopped them. Therefore, they say, yes, the four Kumaras said, you are not fit to live in the spiritual world. That because you are not acting in harmony, in unity. You are not assisting us to worship the Supreme Lord. That therefore you don't belong in the spiritual world. You should go to, because you to go to the material world. So that was one of the arguments of the four Kumaras. That, but in the spiritual world there is unity. In diversity also. There is also diversity, but there's unity. Unity means everything is for the Supreme. That it's like you have a stone, you have with 10 people, and they are before a lake, a pond of water, and they are all throwing their stone into the pond. The stone falls and makes a concentric circles around it. But if everyone chooses where to throw their stone, you have many circles and great diversity, and they will conflict. But no, if everyone puts his stone on the same place in the water, then there is one circle that expands more and more and becomes fortified. So it's that cooperation. We will see at the end of the fourth canto, we have the Prashetas, who are doing austerities under the guidance of Lord Shiva, and then Lord Vishnu appeared. And because Lord Vishnu said, I'm very pleased with your friendship amongst the mother and your cooperation, because they did austerities together to please the Lord. That friendship and cooperation. So the unity principle brings everyone together. In Vrindavan, everyone wants to bring Radha and Krishna together. That is Vrindavan. That, of course, there's Shotila and Kotila. They don't want that. They want to separate Krishna and Radha. But that's, they take this role to give some spice to the pastime. But generally, everyone wants to bring Radha and Krishna together. So we are all different. The unity principle brings everyone together. But to maintain that unity, we need to set some boundaries. A principle that you are included or excluded, that those who are not following Prabhupada's instructions are not chanting a minimum of 16 rounds when initiated and so on. Yes, they are not technically part of ISKCON. They are not following Prabhupada's instructions because there are boundaries to be set. The principles to include and exclude that, because we want to preserve the sanctity of the movement. That. But what are the principles for determining that unity? So diversity should be used for unity. But Prabhupada said they are also fighting. And that's due to the modes of material nature. We have the same aspects in this verse here. So there is variety in this world because of the modes of nature. You have all different bodies, different inclinations. But if you have variety without unity, then there is no Krishna consciousness. Thus, without accepting the principle of Krishna consciousness, there will be no unity. It's not possible. Without Krishna consciousness, there cannot be any harmony in the material world. In my academic studies, later after my PhD, I wrote an article on the Hinduization of ISKCON in the UK. So the devotees were divided about this, that they were thinking ISKCON is changing. It's not the same anymore in the UK. It's Hinduized, that Hinduization, that of course, when you see, I was in the Bhaktivedanta Manor many times, and especially on Janmashtami, also every Sunday, more than thousands of visitors come to see Sri Radha Gokulananda. But they are not devotees, they are mostly Gujaratis or who live in the UK. There are 2 million about them. And they come to see their lordships. But if you ask them that who is Lord Chaitanya, they don't know, never heard of Lord Chaitanya. But they come to see that, and so yes, some devotees felt, yeah, that because many non-Hindu persons in the UK, if they come to visit for the first time the temple and they see all these Hindus, they think that's a Hindu thing. That's not for me. That they don't feel at home. So that, but where are the boundaries? That, but most important is there are many issues like that in ISKCON. Like this letter that I read of Srila Prabhupada, a letter to Kirtananda Maharaj, but then Kirtananda Maharaj later, he started his own movement. And New Vrindavan was in the hands of Kirtananda Maharaj and his followers. And I spoke with devotees who visited at that time the temple, and they changed everything. The songs were the Mangala Arti songs. They were in English in a certain, also in the form of poetry, different songs, and they were dressing special outfits, westernized, a bit copied from the Christians, that very different. All the Indian things were taken out, practically, the Vedic things. But so that was, and because interesting is Prabhupada writes this letter to Kirtananda in 1972, but he was the one who was going to break away later. But of course, later, New Vrindavan came back to ISKCON in the 90s. And that was a temporary situation. But it illustrates how important it is that we set these boundaries, that you cannot invent your own songs and so on and so on. No, there's a standard to be followed. And we have seen in the 80s, yes, these standards needed to be set. it was very difficult. That because there were these zonal acharya gurus, many fell away, were quite offensive to Prabhupada. So many things happen in the history of ISKCON, but we are currently learning, we have learned in the history the importance of this unity in diversity, of setting these boundaries. What can be inclusive, what is exclusive? Like an example is that in ISKCON temples you cannot do demigod worship. I remember in Belgium, this many years ago, one rich Indian man wanted to pay and build a temple for us. But he said one part of the temple would be ISKCON, and the other part we will worship Durga. Of course, we have to set boundaries, and we said, no, we cannot do that. That would not please Prabhupada. So inclusive, exclusive. But Prabhupada said many times, your love for me will be measured, will be shown by how much you cooperate with each other. So we have differences, but how do we stay together? So how do we stay together? Is by focusing first on developing Krishna consciousness, by keeping Srila Prabhupada in the center and his teachings. That's very important. That from the moment we forget our connection with Prabhupada, this movement will be in danger. Thus, as long as we put Prabhupada in the center, that's our safety net. Then we understand what are the boundaries that we can go to, and the boundaries to because this is important. I'm here in Radhadesh in Belgium, and it's a nice community here. And twice a week, they have Prabhupada on the morning lecture. One morning, they are reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, as on Monday. And on Thursday, they hear a lecture of Prabhupada and discuss the lecture. So that's keeping Prabhupada in the center, and that keeps our focus. Prabhupada gave us also the purposes of ISKCON. One of the purposes of ISKCON is to create unity and harmony in the lives of people, and that harmony is there when we put God in the center. When we put Krishna in the center, we are Krishna conscious. Then we understand that diversity is just there to be used in Krishna's service. No one is more than one another. No one serves all. Whether one is a man, a woman, a mamachari, or a grihastha, or a sannyas, we are all part and parcel of Krishna. And we, according to our position, we use everything in Krishna's service. And the use of and the focus on a pujari in Krishna consciousness, of the focus of a Mataji who makes the flower garlands, it's even appreciated by Krishna. Krishna wants to see the devotion, and that brings the unity. Once we focus on this unity, then Krishna is present. If we do kirtan together, then Krishna is present. I've seen him in Mayapur, in New Mayapur in France. I've been there for some time, 6 years. I was a director there of the project. A manager for the material things. But There were also members of the Gaudiya Math there and so on, and there was always quarrel. But once a week they did kirtan, and everyone cooperated in the kirtan. But when the kirtan stopped, the problem started. So therefore, we should be very careful in our dealings with others that we keep Krishna in the center and not put ourselves or our material position or material situation or our false ego in the center. Then it goes wrong. Then, because false ego means acting in disunity, in disagreement with Krishna. Real ego means acting in unity because we are a servant of Krishna. So in this way, this is a very important teaching which we need to apply individually and institutionally. And it goes with challenges. Prabhupada wanted the GBC and the leaders to discuss every year unity and diversity. And that will keep us going. Because the chance of deviation in Kali Yuga is very realistic. It's a declaration of war to Maya to try to establish a spiritual community in Kali Yuga. So we may expect challenges. We have seen challenges in the history of ISKCON, which is already more than 50 years now. So yes, but continue putting Prabhupada in the center. And therefore the GBC has at this group, this committee, the Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya, how to put Prabhupada in the center. And that was also the wish of my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj. He instructed all disciples. Yes. Yeah. But he said, never leave the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And whatever happens, never leave ISKCON. I spoke with a senior godbrother of mine, and he said, I would have already left ISKCON if I did not make that vow before my Guru Maharaj. But I try to tolerate, stay on the background. But yeah, stay in ISKCON whatever happens. That's important. That will please Prabhupada. So this is a verse today which is very important, that putting Krishna in the center of everything we do in the movement, institutionally, individually. Individually, that means, yes, putting Krishna in the center always. You are working, you do your job for Krishna. You are buying a house. The house is the temple of Krishna because Krishna will be worshipped in it. So you pay the loan, the mortgage, because Krishna is Krishna's house, Krishna's temple. And your children, you educate them and you feed them and so on, because you want them to make devotees of Krishna. So individually we connect with Krishna every moment, everything we do, because everything we do we don't do for Krishna, that will cause problems, karmic reactions, but also this diversity will lead to quarrel and all these things. that and collectively we have to put Prabhupada in the center. That to keep the movement together. Prabhupada in the center means keeping his teachings in the center. That Prabhupada's books should be the center. We don't need any other books. We can study other books. If you have studied Prabhupada's books 4 times, that's what Prabhupada said, and then you are established. You are fixed in Prabhupada's Siddhanta, and then you can. So these are just some thoughts on this verse, which brings also very contentious issues in our movement. That any comments or questions, please?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj, for, like you rightly said, contentious topic in our precious movement. I think it's a blessing that Srila Prabhupada himself arranged for you to be here and also to speak on this particular verse. If we were to go according to the schedule, you should have been speaking on text 49. But somehow, Srila Prabhupada arranged for you to speak on text 48.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly myself, I'm very much thankful that you spoke on this subject matter. Dear devotees, if anyone has questions, comments, realizations, reflections you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask or share your questions or reflections. Maharaja, as I was listening to you, I tried to listen to you as attentive as I possibly can. And sincerely speaking, I'm having a headache. I'm having a headache because as you were speaking, I'm thinking, how do I act or behave as you graciously sharing and teaching us that we need to cooperate? And I do not know how to do that. And I have a real situation, which is an ongoing situation. And I wouldn't mention names, but I'm having a headache as to how do I cooperate with people. Srila Prabhupada is talking about GBC. We have to listen to the GBC. They should be spearheading all managerial activities in the movement. But what do the devotees do when there is a situation that has to be taken charge of, handled by the GBC? And the GBC, either by conscious acknowledgement or being tricked by others, and they come together to allow Srila Prabhupada to lose an immovable asset. Srila Prabhupada was very particular about immovable assets and how they should not be going astray. We should not be losing them. Now, if you have GBCs, either knowingly or being tricked into accepting that Srila Prabhupada's property should be allowed to be sold, to be taken up by somebody else. And this GBC are in support of such activity. And you are a devotee. You are there. You've seen what's going on. And you know you cannot be silent. How do you cooperate with such bunch of crooks when you know for sure that these people are there to destroy Srila Prabhupada's property? How do you cooperate with such people? That's why, Maharaj, I'm saying I'm having a headache here, because I'm trying to honor what Srila Prabhupada said and what you are also saying, that we should cooperate. But how do I cooperate with someone who is consciously and doing everything to steal Srila Prabhupada's property? How do I cooperate with such people?
Yeah, I can give some. Well, of course, I don't know the situation, and I don't have the capability to go into these things. But I know Bhakti Charumaraj. He was GBC. He was made GBC for the Brooklyn Temple. And we know the Brooklyn Temple, it seems we had a similar situation that you described, maybe. I don't know. But and Bhakti Charumaraj, he wanted to know what he should do as a GBC. And he started to meditate on Srila Prabhupada and begging for Srila Prabhupada for guidance. And Srila Prabhupada gave him guidance that to a conversation, conversation that came up into his mind. I want to read that because that may also help us. We have a certain situation, and we have a certain angle of vision on it, which may be different from the GBC. But what is the best way to proceed in this unity and diversity? That if the guidance comes from Prabhupada, it's certainly focused on the unity. And I found this, I read this is from a book written by one of the servants, personal secretaries, servants of Bhakti Charumaraj. It's called Charu Vilas. Yeah? Very nice book. And I will read how Bhakti Charumaraj dealt with it. He said, this is Bhakti Charumaraj. As I mentioned to you once, when I'm faced with a difficult situation, and your situation is also difficult, I meditate upon Srila Prabhupada and ask for his guidance. In this matter, when I did that, I wanted to share with you what I received from Prabhupada in that meditation. Bhakti Charumaraj said to Prabhupada in his meditation, Srila Prabhupada, the leaders of New York are planning to sell the temple in Brooklyn. That Srila Prabhupada replied, I told you not to sell Krishna's property. Once you give something to Krishna, how can you take it away from him? Bhakti Charamaj. They say that the temple building is not in a good condition, and the neighborhood also was not so nice. Srila Prabhupada replies, if the building is not in a good condition, then why don't they repair it? And how can the neighborhood where Krishna is not be nice? Didn't you see? Wherever we set up our temples, everything in that area flourishes. Bhakti Charamaj. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, that neighborhood also has become very prosperous now, but they have signed a contract with a developer, and therefore they cannot withdraw now. Srila Prabhupada. Did they take any money from that developer? Bhakti Charamaj. I don't think so, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada replies, then that contract doesn't have any value. It is our property, and since we did not take any money from you, we have the right to pull out at any time we want. And Bhakti Charamaj. But they say that the buyer can take us to court, and we may become liable to pay heavy compensation. Srila Prabhupada. If they want to go to court, let them go. But our stand will be, since we did not take any money from you, it is still in a negotiation stage, and we have the right to pull out. Bhakti Charamaj. We have taken the legal opinion of the best lawyer in this field in New York, and he also said that we won't be subjected to any penalty or compensation if we express our decision not to sell. Prabhupada, yes, that is common sense. So that was in 2017, beginning of 2017. So that is how Bhakti Charamaj dealt with it. That, of course, yeah. Sadev Prabhu, any comments?
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. Fortunately for me and a few other devotees, when His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was fighting to reclaim this property of Srila Prabhupada's, I was here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And we all witnessed how unfortunate that some people who call themselves devotees of Srila Prabhupada were siding against His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj.
Yeah.
That the temple president owns the temple and he can do as he wishes with the temple. But in fact, there was even a time when Bhakti Charu Maharaj went to the temple room, and there were few devotees who were supporting him. And the temple president turned the electricity off, turned the light off. Maharaj was in the dark.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The deities were in the dark. But well, yes. So this particular example gives some of us the strength to continue to fight on to retain Srila Prabhupada's property. And well, Maharaj, thank you. What you read from this wonderful book, I'll try to say, I saw it's available on Amazon. So I'll try to get a copy from Amazon. But thank you so much for the class in itself, and also the reading from this book, which gives me in particular and few other devotees who understand what I'm talking about, the idea and the strength to move on with what we are fighting over. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And with that, we go to His Grace Shriman Varacharya Prabhu. Please, you may unmute. Hare
Hare-
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Shriman Varacharya Prabhu, okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandava Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. We are grateful for your time and sharing with us the topic that we are dealing with for some days now. It's a very, very controversial, contentious subject matter.
Mhm.
And it's well, we're learning every day, and we hope that we can get more enlightenment from Your Holiness on this matter. I have just some few terms that I want to clarify because we seem to use them when they're convenient, but they actually seem to be at loggerhead. One, we talk about unity and diversity, which, excuse me, I believe we all believe that because of our differences, we cannot act like in conformity, like robots. So people keep their individuality and at the same time put Krishna in the center. So we be what we are, like Vanashram says, everyone using his qualities and then serving Krishna. So unity and diversity, because we are diverse beings with different nature, interests, etc. So that seems to be simple enough to understand. But then we have an institutional policy which says, not only institutional, it's also scriptural. So according to time, place, and circumstances, we preach. We engage in devotional service. So, so once we start, of course, that's supposed to be in tandem, with unity and diversity. But it isn't in practice, because the situation and the circumstances I'm dealing with may not be what the institution is accustomed to generally, and may not be willing to accept certain changes. I'll give an example. You've already given one example, Maharaj. Ketananda Maharaj in Vrindavan. But then that seems to have been passed, but it's not. Because we have Idananda Maharaj and Krishna West, which is also the argument of time, place, and circumstances.
Mm.
So, and how much is Idananda Maharaj and Krishna West is accepted as part of ISKCON? That's another question. So we seem to be talking about unity and diversity, but at the same time, we react very, very strange when there is an approach to face a situation, a different situation, and to adapt. So we want a standard, but at the same time, we're talking about unity and diversity, but we're also wanting to enforce standard. Standard means conformity, and time, place, and circumstances. Kaladesha Patra means adaptation. So please, can you clarify this? I have one more of these terms, but I want to keep it, a bit manageable. So, Maharaj, what will you say to these two? Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that when you were speaking, I was remembering the words of Kadambakana Maharaj, which he many times stressed. We have our movement we can experience on 3 levels. That there is the individual level, in which we are all practitioners of Krishna consciousness. We do sadhana and we try to purify ourselves. Then you have the institutional level, which is another level of movement. that institutional level, ISKCON as an institution. But then you have a higher level. The third level is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And I saw many times, interesting, Kadambakana Maharaj had this expertise to live on this highest level and not to be dragged into the institutional things, at least not too much. And that is also something we can do. Personally, I'm ISKCON, GBC, and so on. I've taken many decisions which I disagree with, but still, I'm still in the movement. that because finally, what is our capability to influence that many times? But what I suggest is that, like Bhakti Sharma has prayed for Srila Prabhupada for guidance, that we individually, we also pray to Prabhupada to guidance. And in a very humble way, that we can't make it on our own, that we need Prabhupada's guidance, his empowerment, and then we can start to understand how to work this unity and diversity. But it is just a sign of our incapability, and that's expressed in this verse we discussed today. The leaders of the universe say we feel incapable. If you do not guide us, then we don't get that unity, and we will quarrel with each other and have problems. And that's the essence of this verse. That I cannot go in any issues further. That's not my point, because that's also an important point. In our ISKCON, there are many issues going on. But we have, as individuals, the right to say that if this is not my service, I'm not going into it. And that's something I apply many times. That so many issues, but if it's not my service, I'm not going into it. I'm a minister of I'm a member of the Ministry for Sannyas. If issues come up there, that's my service. I'm going into it. But otherwise, I'm not going into issues that all as leaders to deal with it. Praying for Prabhupada and Trinata Vishnu Torah says, no, that's what Prabhupada writes. To be very humble and understand our incapability. That's what I could say, Shriman Vara Prabhu.
Jai Maharaj, thank you very much. Thank you for being very honest and sincere in your response. Just one more issue, which you're very much aware of, but just to let the devotees know that this is also something that maybe the leaders are incapable of dealing with, and then it has to be an individual decision. We have, you talk about Indonesian of ISKCON.
Yeah.
And of course, there is a whole lot of outcry against that happening in the West. Maybe almost all over, maybe even in India. But then it looks like ISKCON will prefer Indonesian than Westernization. I don't know whether you get me clear. It's like our tendency is to accept more of Indonesian than to accept westernization. That's one. And the other one is uh, in India, there are so many languages and over different regions. And almost in every of these languages, they have a different way of singing, praising Krishna in the arti and so on and so forth.
Mm.
And that is accepted.
Mm.
But when we come out of India, we do not want to accept that. Why?
Mm. Yeah, in ISKCON we have Prabhupada standards for deity worship very, very high, and we want to maintain this standard. In India, we recognize all these forms, but in our temples, we must apply the standard Prabhupada gave us. Of course, there are differences between the West and India. In the West, you have female pujaris and so on. In India, you don't see that. So that is, but that's not Westernization. That was Prabhupada who established it as such. That, yeah. That's also a point of contention even today. That, but yes, there are many issues regarding this. But that's like an example of what we can tolerate. That to keep ISKCON together, yeah, that's therefore in India, Matajis cannot go on the altar. That and I think that's something which is agreed. It's not in a resolution or something, but it's tolerated and accepted. So and we work together. That's different in India than in the West. It's okay that we accepted it. That's a way of diversity, which is being accepted. But the question is the boundaries. What's the boundaries? And that has to be discussed with the management and so on to set these boundaries. Yeah. That's what I could say.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for Acharya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you to Maharaj for the responses. One important lesson personally I'm learning from this lecture today is that, and please, Maharaj, correct me if I got it wrong, but it seems to me that it is actually more important for us to put Srila Prabhupada in the center of our devotional activities in order to see ISKCON grow and flourish than to have Krishna in the center. Because anybody can be with any movement, any organization, and still have access to Krishna. But we want to have access to Krishna the way it's been presented to us by Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, if we just go by the standards Srila Prabhupada has already given us, then regardless of geographical, cultural differences, we may still be able to do this unity in diversity. But if Srila Prabhupada is not in the center and Krishna is in the center first, then these differences may be there and probably get some of us outside of ISKCON, which we do not want to see it happen. We
Yeah.
all would love to be in Srila Prabhupada's house, ISKCON. And so I find that it is much more important to have Srila Prabhupada in the center who will lead us to Krishna than to have Krishna in the center and possibly miss Srila Prabhupada and thereby miss Krishna. So I don't know if Maharaj, if what I'm saying makes sense, if it's right, you may throw some light on it. You may correct me. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, our gateway to Krishna is through Prabhupada. By Prabhupada's mercy, we can connect with Krishna. That's it goes to our spiritual master, to Prabhupada, to Krishna, through the Guru Parampara. That and that's very important. We cannot go directly to Krishna. That I remember when I was in Atamanach 2018, my Guru Maharaj asked me to ask me to address to speak to some of my Bhakti Shastri students who had graduated, and they were going to get initiation of Maharaj. And Bhakti Maharaj asked me to speak. This is very embarrassing. Your spiritual master are asking to speak in his presence. So I prayed to him and said, please bless me. And the answer of Bhakti Maharaj was no. And he pointed to the deity of Prabhupada and said, that is where the blessings come from. So, and this is very important, that putting Prabhupada in the center, not only in the center, but we have each of us has a relationship with Prabhupada. We do every day Prabhupada Guru Puja. It's very important that during this Guru Puja we can pray to Prabhupada, please guide us. We are incapable. And if we are really humbly, then he will give guidance. And that he will give guidance, what to do, what not to do. But by quarreling with each other, that will not solve anything. That Prabhupada wants us to cooperate. And it's difficult. It's difficult, and but if the challenges are there, it's an opportunity for us to see how helpless we are. We are becoming a helpless condition. And that's also favorable for Krishna consciousness, if we really feel that helplessness. But becoming frustrated and leaving ISKCON is not an option. Then you leave the mercy of Prabhupada. We cannot do that. Tolerate whatever. It's also temporary. We are soon out of this world. And all our relationships are temporary. And on that material platform of diversity, diversity has no meaning if it's not used in Krishna consciousness. We had also diversity and quarrels with so many people in previous lives. Are we still concerned with it today? No. Just let it go. Don't take it so serious, but we try to do our best. If a situation needs corrected, we try to get guidance of Prabhupada and try to help as far as that is possible. That's what I could say.
Yeah.
If that helps, Dave.
Oh, Maharaj, thank you so much. Like I said, I'm not a very prayerful individual. I'm not a prayerful person, but sometimes I think of something and somehow Sri Guru and Krishna help make it come through. Because I was having a bit of a dilemma about a land issue going on in some part of ISKCON temple,
Yeah.
which belongs to Srila Prabhupada. And this was a land that was procured by my guru. And if I have a plot of land and somebody tries to snatch the plot away from me or part of the plot away from me, I wouldn't sit quiet. So why should I sit quiet when it is my guru's property? And as you were reading and speaking, I was having, like I said, I was having a headache, but somehow you have also given me the antidote. So now my headache is almost gone. So I must say thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay.
And we'll continue to pray to Srila Prabhupada, trying to follow the guidance of His Holiness Dr. SWAMI Maharaj. And then we'll fight like there is no Guru, there is no God, but we leave the results in the hands of Guru and Krishna. So
Nice.
thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Dear devotees, if no one has anything else to ask or to share, then maybe we'll bring this to a close. Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. All grace of glory.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All grace to the Lord. All grace unto all of us. Thank you very much for giving us your time. We so much appreciate it. Today's test, just my comment. I think today's test is emphasizing that influence of the three modes of material nature, especially as it is coming from the demigod. They specifically emphasize this part, that this influence is very, very strong. And because of that, it's difficult for them to act concertedly, to give transcendental pleasure, as it was done in the spiritual circle or atmosphere. Then this also brings my mind to a text in Bhagavad Gita, that is 14:26, which tell us of the standard to be a devotee, and also a standard to overcome this influence of these three modes of material nature. So maybe if I want the translation of that text, when it was said that, okay, let me read the Sanskrit. The Sanskrit you said that Mam Chayo, Saguna, Samasita, Brahma Vyaya, Kalpate. And the translation which said that one who engages in full devotional service and who does not fail in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and then comes to the level of Brahman. So there's a standard for a devotee, or a standard to even worship Krishna. It's just like if you want to be a government worker, you must have a qualification.
Yeah.
That's my little idea of Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, interesting is these demigods, they have also problems to work in unity. So what then with us, human beings here, that we see also Prabhupada, he tried to work with so many people on that with his family, but it didn't work out. With his business, it didn't work out. These are the three modes of material nature. But as you say, Mamsya Vyabhachana Bhakti Yoganasevate Sakadan Samatichutam Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. if we perform pure devotional service, immediately you transcend these modes. You are in unity. And that immediately, because your mind is connected with Krishna. So Prabhupada, someone asked Prabhupada, oh, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, just a moment. And if we really desire, we can think of Krishna now, but then the next moment it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to maintain. And that's because of this influence of these modes of material nature. Turns us into fools. And yeah, that's why we are here in the prison house of the material world, to quarrel with each other. But if you want to go back to the spiritual world, we should cooperate and learn to tolerate that, not put ourselves in between. It's a big task. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Good.
Well, Hare Krishna devotees. So we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to His Holiness for being here with us today and sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Maharaj, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mancha kalpa parikita Atitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Yes, Bhakti Prabhava Swami Maharaj ki jai. Acharya is Evangelist Naisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jaga Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Santa Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Pini.